Welcome to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Ann Duffy. Dental Entrepreneur Women is here to dive deep and share stories with the mission to inspire, highlight, empower, and connect all women in dentistry.
Hey everybody, it's Ann Duffy, and welcome to the Just Do It podcast. I'm so happy you're with us today, and I've got a new friend with me today. And let me tell you a little bit about her before we get started. Christy Hulin has over 30 years of experience in the dental and healthcare sectors, specializing in operational leadership. With a diverse educational background, she provides valuable guidance as a fractional COO and CHRO, helping clients succeed in a competitive marketplace. Some random fun facts. I love to remodel homes, she says. She's an avid animal lover and rescuer and was on the water ski team in college. Oh my gosh, that is super cool. Hello, Christy. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. First of all, the water ski team. Where did you grow up?
In Texas. Yeah, my parents had me on the lake when I was probably 5. I was on 2 skis. And then by the time I was, 7, I was on a slalom ski. So yeah, I grew up skiing. So random people are like, you skied in college? I'm like, I know, right? Not your typical sport, but yes.
But it's cool. It's very cool. And you must have the strongest abs ever, because I've been on skis like maybe once on water skis. I got up, but that was about it. You got to have such a core to do that. Where'd you go to college?
It was in San Marcos. Well, back then it was Southwest Texas State, and now it's Texas State.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. It's amazing what you can do in college. You've always had a couple side gigs. That's why you're a fractional COO and a fractional CHRO. Tell us what those letters mean.
COO is Chief Operating Officer, and CHRO is Chief Human Resource Officer. I have a background mainly in operations. I also had gotten my master's in healthcare human resources while I was doing operations. And so I can kind of venture into each area. They very well interlink, but have knowledge of both areas.
It's wonderful to be able to bring both of those areas and then your expertise to any company, because as we know, I think in dentistry today, it's so relevant because people need HR because they can't keep the employees happy, right? And you can't have operations if you don't have good employees. So I could see how that would intertwine. And so did you work full time before? Tell us a little bit, because all the gals that are listening to this podcast usually are working a couple of different areas. They have a couple side gigs, and some of those side gigs turn into be something big like this, fractional CO in your own business.
Yeah. So I grew up doing dentistry to get through college and school, and went and managed nursing homes, assisted livings, and Alzheimer's units. And so kind of fell back into dentistry after that. And with all my operations experience and the management side of running a nursing home, I took that knowledge and married it with what I knew in dentistry. Ended up doing some group practice management, was a COO of practices, and we ended up growing and creating our own DSO. Grew that to a point where we were attractive to a private equity group, and we sold out. So then it sort of just organically happened that I started to do fractional work, because right when we were finished, when sold in 2019, I was like, what am I going to do now? Because they brought their own people in, and we knew that I was transitioning out. And so I transitioned their new people in and transitioned out. And so I was like, what am I going to do now? And people would come and like, hey, are you interested in a job? And at the time, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I was like, well, no, but I'll help you until I figure it out, kind of thing. And so it just happened where, I'll help you with this project, or I'll help you for a little bit. And so there was the fractional COO that was born. And so was the HR piece of it too, that I do for some practices as well.
Well, you studied it as well. So, it's cool to be able to bring that knowledge and your experience in the nursing home. That's great experience to bring into the dental arena, because you understand all sorts of different people and different ways of operating. That's a wealth of information. Do you work with single practices, or is it you're mostly, I believe, in the DSO arena? Is that right?
Smaller DSOs, and I've worked with a couple of larger ones just on an as needed or project basis, but usually it's mid to small size DSOs or single practices or individuals that will seek out my assistance and whatever they're looking for. We'll do anything from projects to sometimes co-working with their management or COO on something in particular that they need, maybe a second set of eyes or someone to try to help with certain pieces of issues or problems that they just kind of need an extra set of hands.
And somebody from the outside, right? Because sometimes when you're working in it every day, you kind of need somebody to come in and view the whole outside without any preconditioned ideas or perspective. I could see that would be really helpful as even a consultant to come in for like maybe 6 months and help their team pivot just a bit. Because I think sometimes it feels like, and I don't know, maybe you could weigh in on this. It's not like they have to change everything. They just need like a 1-degree shift that they just can't see. It's literally right in front of them, but they don't see it. Do you see that happen often when you get into an office?
Yeah, for sure. It's better if people, when I do start to work with them, if it's more of, hey, we just want a second set of hands for like a health check, or what you're saying, like a fresh set of eyes, a new perspective, and kind of navigate any kind of blind spots that they didn't see. So that's helpful. But a lot of the times what I get is that, it's like going to the doctor, right, for your checkups. You're ahead of the game versus, I have this pain and now I have to go to the doctor. Or it's kind of the same thing. I get them when they have the pain versus, hey, we just need the checkup. So sometimes if I can get in there soon enough, I can head things off or see things that maybe they hadn't seen yet before it becomes an ouch.
Yeah. If somebody is sensing it. And, I think women especially are listening to this. We have that intuitive nature. It's just natural. And so we can tell things aren't going great. And maybe I need a checkup, or maybe I need a second set of eyes. To your point, instead of getting into the muck of it where people can't change, I think it's such a good idea to be able to have somebody that could actually dip in and not necessarily stay forever, because that's not what they need at the time. They're looking for something, but how great to be dental oriented and know exactly how a dental office works. Have you seen your operational perspective change over the years in your career?
Yes. And you probably will appreciate this. For a long time ago, when I started in dentistry, it was very much patient focused, and it was the patient is always right and everything was patient. And I'm not saying that I'm not patient focused, but my perspective, especially after going back for my master's in human resources, is that it became employee centric. And so my shift, and not just if I'm doing HR, obviously I'm all about the employees, right? But when I'm doing operations, where it used to be so focused on the patient, I'm now in my decisions very focused on the employees, and everything, the decisions and systems, everything that we do, it's around the employee. What's the well-being? What is their experience? Or we have flexibility? Is there diversity? What's our recognition like? Because if I have hired the right people and we meet the needs of the employees and they're happy, then the patient focus just happens. And you feel it when you go into places. You can tell if somebody likes their job, wants to be there, they're happy. They give you good customer service, and it is patient focused. If you take care of the employees, you're usually going to take care of the patients just by second nature. In healthcare and dental industry, I've noticed that naturally everyone's very nurturing, or they wouldn't be in the industry. If they're really there and they're there for the right reasons, they're nurturing and they have a sense about them. So if you take care of them, they're going to carry that over to your patients, and it's going to be completely full circle. When people are like, oh, we're about the patients. Yes, we are, but let's take care of our employees who will then take care of the patients.
Yeah. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? And it's so funny, Christy, because I retired after 46 years, but I don't think I ever really worked in an atmosphere where the patients weren't always first of mind. I love this reversal here, because you're right. If you have a good team, and I say this about women in dentistry, they're caring, they love beauty, or to your point, they wouldn't be here. And it makes so much sense, not just because we're losing people, they're leaving in droves, but because it's the right thing to do. And doctors need to treat their employees, not necessarily, they don't have to be their family, but in a way, yes. You got to treat people with respect and with friendship and all those things that are new. That's new age, I think. I mean, in the past, unless you had that naturally in your practice, it is something that can be learned. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I'd tell a lot of people, especially in a lot of the larger organizations, not so much small because they don't necessarily have somebody who is overseeing HR functions. But in some of the larger ones or mid-sized ones, when I've been in there and you go into a an executive meeting and you sit in there and you're like, where's the person who is responsible for the human resource piece? And they're like, yeah, she's not here. I'm like, okay, well, that's a problem. That person needs to be invited to the executive table. They need to be in here. They need to be part of all of your decisions because they're going to be the advocate, even if you get off track. Because it's very easy to think about, you get in a silo of fixing a problem and your focus hasn't been the employees. You have that HR person there who hopefully is strategic and you've hired them to be strategic, not just, do the administrative tasks of HR. You want them there to insert themselves when they're like, hey guys, have you thought about that? May not be the best result with the employees if we roll that out that way. It starts to have everybody getting on board to start thinking in that direction. Historically, a lot of the people in HR have been more administrative and have not been a part of that strategic planning.
Yeah, I think Billions changed our mind, right? When they got Wendy in there. Have you ever seen the Netflix or Amazon and Billions? And they brought in Wendy, who's the CHRO, and she takes care of everybody. But again, it's great for the owner to be able to step back and not have to do that and not have the right words, not have to have those courageous conversations. He could just, or she can just go and do the work and know that the team is going to run smoothly because everybody's in a pretty good mental state. That's what makes a happy team, if everybody's in a pretty good mental state and taken care of mentally and physically. But I think even you could help us with, some of us have our own businesses, and it's not just a dental practice. Honestly, Christy, you could think about, like, I have 8 people that work for me. And I know that we were on a call this morning and Laura Kolutz was talking about how she went to dental school after, I think, 13 years of hygiene. Now she's a doctor owner. So that's a whole other aspect of her work and what she has to deal with. She's not trained for that. And so she could see her eyes light up when you were talking this morning. I think that's beautiful. And just to be able to pop in. What's the smallest amount of time you would go in? When you say fractional, is that like, do you sign a contract for like a year, or can you do something for like 3 months? Or is it just depending on the client?
Depends on the client. And I usually just try to adapt to what their needs are and what they're trying to achieve. It could be project-based. It could be like so many hours a week. It could be like a temporary, like, hey, let's come in for a certain amount of time. So it really depends on what they need, which is more cost effective for people, especially if it's a smaller organization or a startup or somebody who wants that expertise, but doesn't want to pay for that full-time person. It makes sense to go, okay, well, hey, I just need help with this. What would that look like? Is that just maybe a couple hours a week? It could be that, or hey, we want you to come on, put this all in place, and then back off. I've had a whole range from come on for a short amount of time to just a project.
Or please don't leave us. Please don't leave us, right? You got to spread yourself around. You know what's so cool about that? And I think a lot of the young doctors out there, both men and women, are looking to maybe have 2 or 3 practices and they don't know where to start. And again, just so makes sense to start with someone like you as you start to build that and get bigger and bigger, that you have the culture and that they can say, okay, well, something might come up in the office and I can see them saying, okay, let's wait till Christy comes in and then we'll all discuss it. And then everybody's can take a deep breath, get back to work and know that you're going to come in and manage those conversations, which is just huge for the team because it shows that the docs care about them. The president or the leader or the CEOs of the smaller companies care about them, and they want what's best for not just the overall growth of the practice, but the growth of the people that are in it. And that's super cool. And you kind of light up when you talk about that. I love it. You also leverage data. And so data and analytics, I don't like data and analytics. I just don't care that much about data and analytics, but you use that. And the people that you're working for, they want to hear the analytics and they want to know what they are to help them make good decisions. What do you see there?
I have clients, majority, especially some of the smaller ones, a lot of people don't like it. And I find in dentistry, they're like, how does it feel, right? When I go into an office or somewhere, they're like, we feel like, we have some more no-shows, or it seems like I hear, think, feel, seems. And I'm like, well, that's all great, but do we have actual statistics? Like how many people have canceled this week? If I can't measure it, I can't manage it. So it's hard for your executives to know, like, we put something in place. What was the outcome of it? Can we measure the before and the after? knowing their objectives and then measuring it to make sure is what we put in place working? What system needs help? I always tell everybody it's like your dashboard on your car. When you're driving down and you see your gas gauge go into the red, oh, I got to stop and get gas. If I know one of my KPIs or key performance indicators or some of your metrics, if they're trending into the red, oh, I need to do this to fix that. Some people don't know. They get all their statistics and they're like, I don't know what to do with this here. So that's another thing that I can help with of, okay, if this goes in the red, this is what we do. And if this goes in the red, we go in this direction. Being able to tell your dashboard of what are my systems that are working and which ones are not, so that you can drive your car and it still functions. And we're not, oh my gosh, what happened? My car is broken down. Oh, you didn't change the oil and you didn't put gas in it. The same kind of thing. So it's getting the data and analyze it. And a lot of our software systems, and there's so many tools out there now that can get the data. It's just knowing what to do with it. So if you can get the past data, it's important because it tells you what's happened to help predict the future. But I have a lot of people who are like, I can't get the past. And that's fine. We just start from like, okay, here's day one. Let's see where you're at. Let's see where you sit, especially with things like, your accounts receivable and your insurance aging and looking, where are you? Where should you be from industry standards? These are the areas. Those will usually point me into knowing which systems need to be looked at. It's how I can tell what's working and not working in an office. I can sit and watch and observe and get a good idea, but I can look at statistics and usually have even a better idea.
Yeah, that just strikes me. So that's your COO hat, right? That's the operations. And the funny thing about it, not only do you learn what's not working, but I mean, my team will share statistics and data with me. And I'm like, oh my God, we're doing really well. And I thought we weren't doing so well in certain areas. You know what I mean? Something, a lot of times I'm surprised on the data doesn't sound as good as I want it to be. Like, we're not up 100%, 1,000% this month, but actually it's really good. And I need somebody that knows how to read it to tell me that, to give me the confidence, like, okay, just calm down and everything's going great. And just keep doing what you're doing, or you might need to shift a little bit here or there. But again, reading the data, to me, I would need an expert to do that. And so that's where you could come in and give them peace of mind, know they're on the right track, or that there's a solution to fixing it just a bit to make those numbers go the way you want them to go for success.
Right. Yes, for sure. It's so helpful to have it, but I do find a lot of people, it's not fun for them. A lot of dentists, they don't like it, but they're looking at their bank accounts and saying, well, it's good month or it's bad month. And it's like, we need more than that.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, that is mostly what I just talked about was a lot of operational side of it, but it goes the same for the human resource side of it, that there's a lot of metrics on that side too, that we monitor just to see how things are going. So there are some additional metrics in almost anywhere in any part of the organization. There are things that you can measure.
Before we leave, tell me a few things that you can measure with HR. Like, what kind of data do you look for on that?
I like to see, depending on the organization, what's their turnover rate, because that's going to tell me what's going on sometimes with their culture. And then there's a lot of statistics around how long is it taking us to hire people and what are our avenues that we're using, what's working, what's not working when we're putting out there for positions. And I don't like it to take a long time if we're trying to hire somebody. Everybody's been through those processes of, well, at least most of, really, it took like 6 weeks for you to hire somebody. They're going to find another job. You have to have your systems down to know, like, okay, we're doing our interview. Let's get them in. Is it going to work? How long was it from the time that we were able to recruit them until we were able to bring them on? And so that onboarding piece needs to be tracked.
Yeah. And then someone that knows the culture and the personalities in the office. Again, looking from the outside in as a fractional CHRO, it would be very helpful to see what piece is missing, because you don't want everybody to have the same strengths, if you will. And it's great to mix it up a little bit and make sure that whole sandbox really plays well together, right? You've given me a lot to think about today. I can see that you're so valuable in what you do. And I know that a lot of people that are listening would feel the same way. How do they get in touch with you, Christy? Can you tell us? And we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Mostly it's my email address, which was Christy, CHRISTYH, @hulinco.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Christy Hulin. So it gives a little bit about my background, and you can always private message me there too.
That's wonderful. I think that's how we found each other. I got a feeling that we reached out to each other on LinkedIn, which was wonderful. Of course, you're on LinkedIn. And I just loved seeing you at our Do Connects on Wednesday mornings and sometimes on Tuesday afternoons. It's always great when you pop in and give your 2 cents. It's well received and well needed. So you take care. Good to see you. I want to do another podcast with you on Dental Entrepreneur of the Future Dentistry, because I think a lot of what you had to say today would transfer over to that publication and audience as well. So thank you for being here today. And I will see you at the retreat in November. If you're listening to this and you want to meet an amazing group of women that will help you grow yourself and your career and have a fulfilling and successful life all the way around. So most importantly, if you're listening, don't forget to keep doing you. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Ann Duffy. To learn more about dental entrepreneur women, to share your story, or to join the movement, please visit our website, do.life. That is DEW.life. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app to make sure you don't miss an episode. And in the meantime, keep doing you.